What's up, everyone? It's Adam from FWCI, and we've got a really fun episode today. I have a sit down with Kyle Peterson, who has his own YouTube channel. Just search Kyle Peterson. You can see his extensive wrestling collection. He's all over Marvel Legends and Turtles and horror movies and all sorts of stuff. The guy knows his action figures, is what I'm trying to get at. And I talked to him about the entire history of Aussie WWE action figures. So we're going to talk about everything from Outback Jack all the way through to Bronson Reed. We've got pictures of all the figures as we go through them, stories. It's been a real fun chat. Hope you guys enjoy it. This is World Wrestling Straya, episode 52.
Fellas, what is going on? It is the Loose Ledge, Adam Brooks here, and you are watching World Wrestling Straya. I love that name. Straya.
Alrighty, so let's have a chat with the main man, Kyle Peterson here, who has a fantastic YouTube channel. By the way, I just want to quickly say, I love watching your Marvel Legends videos because I'm getting really into that line lately, but I'm still kind of not that across everything, but the Marvel Legends covering that you do on your channel is fantastic, and so is all the WWE stuff. Everything is fantastic, so I highly recommend anybody watching this, if you haven't checked out Kyle Peterson on YouTube and you do enjoy your collecting, it's a must subscribe channel for anything new that's coming out.
Thank you. Yeah, that Marvel Legends will get you really itchy. I get it. But boy, that's a dangerous wallet rabbit hole is what that is.
So we're going to have a chat today about all the Aussie action figures that WWE has released over the years, which is not that many, to be completely honest.
Very surprising. Yeah, it's less than I'd think.
Yeah. It's from the 80s through to the mid, 2010s. There was a bit of a drought there. But let's start with the 80s. Outback Jack had an LJN, the first ever Aussie wrestling figure. I don't own this. I would love to, but I'm not paying LJN money for Outback Jack in 2022.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
they have jumped. They've jumped in price the last couple of years. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen some loose ones that look okay, but what were your thoughts on the Outback Jack LJN?
That is one of the most special figures to me ever. And it's so funny that we're talking about this one off first, because I have, well over 10,000 action figures in my collection. But you know what? The first ever wrestling figure I ever bought was Outback Jack LJN. How funny is that? And maybe that set off my love for Australia at an early age. I don't know. It could be. But I remember picking it up at Toys R Us here in America. Went to the store, and I just started watching wrestling a while back. And some of my friends talked about, hey, we have these toys, and they brought them to school. I said, oh my gosh, I got to get some of those, And, my parents took me to Toys R Us on a Friday night or whatever. And we went down the aisle for the wrestling toys, and I was all excited. I'm going to get Hulk Hogan. I'm going to get Andre the Giant. I'm going to get Junkyard Dog. Nope, they're all gone. And there was only 4 Outback Jack figures. And I said, well, you got to start somewhere. So I picked up Outback Jack as my first ever wrestling figure, and I just had him by himself because I wasn't going to buy 2 Outback Jacks. That would be kind of weird. So I had 1 Outback Jack for the longest time. And then I think I got Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff a couple weeks later. But my first ever wrestling figure, Outback Jack.
Well, you might have been a very advanced child and wanted to play out the internal struggle between Outback Jack and himself. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. He was just he'd sit there and he'd just talk to himself. It was crazy. What am I doing here in America? Am I really wrestling here?
I think it'd be like, "G'day, Outback Jack. G'day, Outback Jack. How are you? Bloody good, thanks, mate. Good, thanks."
But it's funny. I a lot of people kind of slack off that figure. Obviously, it's when you got names like Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, and stuff. But for me, it's always been a special figure for me. It's the first one I ever got. It's the only figure I had for a while, so I had a lot of time with it, looking at it and stuff. So it's an iconic figure for me. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, 100%. I never had that one, but it's certainly action figure history, that's for sure. So there was not really a great deal that happened after that until 2015.
Wow, that just seems crazy. But yeah, I was trying to go through my mental Rolodex, and I think you're right.
That's it. And I'm not going to observe the Australian tradition of claiming New Zealanders as our own on this video, as Australia has a rich history of doing. But obviously we had the Bushwhackers, and Dakota Kai had a basic as well, which I've got on the shelf behind me there. But Emma was first time in the line in Basic Series 49 in 2015. This is the one where she's in the kind of pink, this whole thing, which I actually didn't hate, to be completely honest. But did you have this figure? Was this on your radar? Is this special to you in any way?
Now, basics are, as most collectors, not everybody buys all the basic figures. I'm all in on all the elite figures, but I do pick and choose the basics. Usually first time in the lines, I will pick those figures up. And that's what I did with that Emma figure. But I remember thinking I didn't like the head scan a lot on that one for whatever reason, compared to some of her later figures she got in the basic line. But that one, I don't know. It was an interesting one, but it was first time in the line, so I had to pick it up.
That's it. Well, she had one other figure in the basic line, and that was the following year, 2016, which was the one in the silver with the little tiny gloves.
Black glove, a little more updated look. That kind of the non-goofy version of Emma.
Yeah, when she went heel and started becoming very sort of pompous. But looking at the two of them, I don't know. I'd probably say I'd have to go with the first one out of the two. Maybe it looks different in person, but the second one just looked kind of generic. The first one looked a bit more Emma-like. Yeah,
and I guess it goes down to what Emma do you prefer. I mean, you sound like you prefer that first kind of action. I like the dark, brooding, kind of mean version of Emma. More like what she's right now, I guess. I like more instead of her stuff with Santino.
Yeah, I like the Santino story, but I am digging All About Me, Tennille Dashwood in Impact Wrestling as well. She's been there for a while and doing pretty good, to be honest. So, all right. So I feel like we kind of split decision on the which is the superior Emma figurine. The next one that came out, this one hurts my heart because I don't have it. I could have had it. I should have got it. Now I'm really, really regretting not getting it. It's the Iconics first time in the line 2-pack from 2019. This is depicting the attire that they wore in the Super Showdown pay-per-view, which was from Melbourne, which I was at, which was amazing. Like, we had to go for the journey to go there. So that one holds a whole heap of sentimental value to me. And it's based, other than Emma, it's the only one that I don't have. So
you got to track that one down.
Yeah, did you end up picking this one up? I'm guessing in the 2-packs it may not have. Oh, first time in the line though. You did say.
I picked it up, and I pick up a lot of the basics that are different. They got to be really different and something special to them. And that was first time in the line, so I definitely wanted to get it. And the female basic figures are very similar to the elite female figures. There's not a whole lot of articulation difference. So you can kind of smoke and mirrors those guys together a little bit. But I did. I remember I picked it up at Walmart, not too far from my house. And now traditionally, female figures, at least here in America, are pretty hard peg warmers. That said, actually did not peg warm at all in my area. And I travel about an 8-state area through some busy cities for my job. And that one was not a peg warmer. So that was something different, something I always remember back to, like, wow, I'm surprised that one's not peg warming. Because if we talk about their elites, that's a whole different story.
Right. Okay. Well, put it this way. I don't think we got this on shelves in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine it'd be hugely popular over there.
You'd think, wouldn't you? I mean, what do you do? But and that's probably going to be a bit of a running theme at this point as well. So, but yeah, the Iconics 2-pack. I mean, yeah, that's definitely on my list to get. I think just it's not that they're particularly good figures, but just what it means to that career. It's it's a very big deal. And but again, we wouldn't get another Aussie until the following year when we got Murphy Buddy Murphy back then in the Elite 72, which also came with a chase. So there was Murphy with the Cruiserweight title, red shorts, black shorts was the chase. I've got the red shorts one. I think it's probably the best Murphy figure that they've brought out, to be completely honest. What were your thoughts on this Elite?
We're splitting the difference too. I prefer the black version. I don't know if I just prefer black. I don't know if I just prefer black as a color. I always wear black t-shirts usually, so maybe that's it. But both a solid figure though. But yeah, I remember those were very hard and very desirable, at least over here for a long time. Very hard to get. And then Ringside Collectibles ended up getting a huge assortment of those like 8 months later after they first initially hit. Everybody's like, man, they disappeared. They're on the shelves. Nobody could get it. And then all of a sudden the market got flooded with them. And I don't know what it's worth currently, but for a while it was super hard to get. And then I guess time, you just wait and it got a little easier.
Yeah, I definitely picked mine up when Ringside had them for a much more affordable price. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unusual that first time in the line and you get a chase. Does that happen very often from what you've seen?
Gosh, I can't remember. It happens a few times, a lot, especially in the basic line. We see that a lot. And, recently we saw that with Isaiah Swerve Scott and Jake Atlas and Austin Theory. I mean, they do a lot of those guys. And I think that's Mattel's way of, those young guys, you never know how the career is going to go. They could just sputter out and be done. So it's a way to kind of get them 2 figures for the price of 1, basically. And I think that's kind of what they do. But in an elite line, I don't think that's happened a whole lot. Maybe I'd have to sit and think about it, but maybe once, only twice. But basics happens a lot more.
Well, it came out the year after Super Showdown. So that was well and truly after Murphy had his moment in the sun with the Cruiserweight title and everything. So they definitely took their time on that one. But shortly after that I'll just put these in the same entrant. Elite 73, Peyton Royce, and Elite 75, Billy Kay, the collector editions from those sets. These were flying off the shelves in Australia, I think, and they were not very common or plentiful either. I have a particular place that I found out has very high toy sales, and they frequently get new stock. If you've seen the show Oak Island, you'll understand why I call it the money pit, because that's where all the treasure is. And I went down to the money pit one night and I managed to pick up one of these, and I had to source the other one aftermarket. But these are just amazing with the Iconics t-shirts. Even putting the microphone in there, I think is a very subtle, just a nice touch for these ones here. But these could be my favorite of all the Aussies in figure form, especially when you've got the both of them.
Yeah, beautiful figures. I love both those. The collector's edition, so they were Target exclusives in America. Walmart and Target are your big 2 retailers in America, and it was the Target exclusive for both of those. And they peg warmed hard. Hard.
Wow.
But, and I don't know if it's this way in Australia, but in America, the female figures, they just don't sell. I do my figure hunt videos on Fridays. I was in a store last week. All they had was female figures. Really? No males. It's tough. Nothing against the females. I love females, but they just don't sell. And I think it goes back to most time kids are collecting. And for the most part, I remember when I was a little boy, G.I. Joe was a big deal for me as a kid. And I always bought the girls last for whatever reason. I don't know.
You don't know how many figures you're going to be allowed to get. You got to get the ones you want first.
Yeah. And those are really, really good figures. And especially Billy Kay. She peg warmed for a long time over here. Wow. Which is surprising. But it's funny is once those things disappear, finally, it takes a while, longer than some, but then they skyrocket. And I'm sure those figures now are probably $50+ figures in the US market, I'm sure by now.
Yeah, 100%. They're very uncommon now. And I was so over the moon when I managed to get the 2 of them. There's something about having a set or a team or a faction or having a group of figures that all have some sort of connection always just looks amazing on the shelf.
It's kind of just being from Australia too is a big thing. I mean, I'm from Iowa in the United States. It's a state, and Seth Rollins is from here. And Seth Rollins, I've known him since he was a kid. I remember going to the back at some of the indie shows. I have a couple buddies that run indie federations in the Midwest and been longtime friends. And he was booked on a lot of those shows. And I remember the first time I ever met Seth Rollins, I go in the back of the locker room and I would tell the promoter, I say, "Hey, who's that dorky kid in the corner reading Harry Potter?" And it was Seth Rollins reading Harry Potter in the corner in the locker room, just hanging out reading Harry Potter. So he's come a long way.
Yeah, he certainly has, from reading Harry Potter in the locker room to knocking on Roman's door in the Shield music, that's for sure.
Yep.
Wow. Well, moving on to the next one is a Buddy Murphy Basic. So this was from 2020 in the Basic Series 113. I don't actually have this. It was around, I saw no need to get it. It was that Seth Rollins era Buddy Murphy. Just a bizarre figure for them to bring out, especially considering we're about to get that same representation in a much better elite. Yeah. So I don't know if they're just burning off their Buddy Murphy head sculpts.
Quota. Getting their quota in. I don't know. I passed on that one as well. I did not pick that up. With the elite, unless it's huge difference, there's no need for it in my collecting, I guess.
Yeah. If I see him on the shelves somewhere and it's in pretty good condition, I might just grab one and chuck it in the shelf just to be the completionist kind of thing. But that moves on to, this is where I think the Aussie figure, like the WWE representation of Aussies in figures really started to take off. Rhea Ripley in the Series 114 Basic, that was her first time in the line. So I grew up in a place called Adelaide, which is in South Australia. Rhea Ripley and Bronson Reed are both local Adelaide people. And Adelaide's a very centralized kind of state. Everything's very close together. So that's why everyone just calls it Adelaide instead of where they actually kind of lived. But getting a Rhea Ripley figure meant a lot to me. These did show up on our shelves eventually, but I picked this up on Ringside as soon as it came out. Wish I waited because it's $3 at the moment. So great on that one. But what were your thoughts on this figure in particular and Rhea Ripley getting introduced into the line?
I'm a big Rhea Ripley fan. I mean, she hits a lot of the bases for me. Hard hitting, bigger female. I mean, and then has a good look. I love heavy metal. Obviously, I'm a big heavy metal guy, so she's got the heavy metal look. Just totally different than your traditional diva or even women's wrestler. You know, you think of, just different look and perfect. So I loved it. I picked that one up right away as well. I think I paid that with $13.99 or something at Ringside. It's a little bit more.
Could have got it for $3, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, now it's like you said. I think it's like $3.99 at Ringside. And it's funny is that I thought that figure was pretty good when it came out, but now we've got a couple of different versions of her. I think it's one of her worst figures now. I think they've done a lot of good with her elites and stuff.
100%, yeah. And that is right around the corner. So the next one that came out was it's Elite 84. So that's the set that had Buddy and Rhea in it. So starting off with the Buddy Murphy, I did pick this up. I just kept this one in the box because I've got my Red Pants Murphy on the shelf, which I'm pretty happy with. I've also got him with Casey Jones's cricket bat from the NECA Turtle series. Worked perfectly for me. But that Murphy, it's an okay figure, but again, it's just a weird time frame in his career. I don't know why it needed to be captured.
A little bit of an afterthought, I think. And yeah, it's that first one was really special with the chase and the regular, and that was first time in the line. And now it's kind of just there. It's kind of how I felt, just kind of there.
In that series as well, we also had the Rhea Ripley Elite. I really wish this was her first time in the line figure. I think it would have been a lot more popular than it was, but this figure is absolutely beautiful. I love the detail on the pants. I love the fact they've tried to give her the the devil horn hands as well, which they've been very handy doing figure photography. Got the little Aussie flag on the back of the jacket. So just seeing this figure with Adelaide, South Australia written on the back was like, it just gave me like a warm feeling inside. Like, I like that. So what were your thoughts on the Rhea Elite 84?
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that figure a whole lot. I think they'll do even better in her next Elite probably. But it's funny is I like that basic we talked about. And then when that Elite came out, I was like, man, this basic's not so good. Because I really like that. And that's how good that Elite was. It made that basic not feel as special. And I guess that's not a bad thing either. So I mean, constant learning is constant improvements.
That's exactly it. Well, they've had a bit of a habit of basic head sculpts being a little bit superior to the Elite head sculpts recently, and I don't think that's the case with the Rhea one. I think they definitely improved on the head sculpt with the Elite.
100% agree. It's funny you say that because I've also noticed that we've had some basics that have a better head sculpt than the Elite, which seems just so strange. But and I'm such a purist in my collection. I don't like to mix stuff. But man, if I was somebody that mixed, I'd be boiling those heads and switching them.
Oh, that's what I've been doing. I've actually got into the point of, so for example, I've got my old Macho Man Randy Savage defining moments. I want to have a look and try and find the right body parts to swap the arms out so I can have the replaceable hands on the defining moment. So I've got no shame of doing that kind of stuff. I do that all day.
I don't know why. I'm such a purist and I can make things so much better just like that, just moving some things around, but I just can't. I don't know. It must be OCD or so. There's something wrong with me that I won't do it.
There is a chemical imbalance in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. So as we move on to Basic 117, first time in the line, Toni Storm. She had a chase as well, which was the red version. Great to see Toni Storm in figure form. The red chase looked pretty bad in terms of just the artwork on the body. The head was obviously exactly the same, and the head scan is pretty good on this one. You can certainly tell who it is, but a little bit of a disappointing figure, especially that chase. I really wanted the red one to pop a little bit more and have more detail, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that one has a little bit of that Rhea Ripley effect. If we do, and she was earmarked for an upcoming Elite set. I don't know if we'll still get it or not. I guess, we're seeing the Fiend coming out here in a month or so. So maybe, they might still get us that Toni Storm. So we'll see. But I think that her Elite would blow that one away, kind of like the Rhea Ripley. It's kind of how I view that one. I didn't hate that figure. I think I did prefer the blue. I like blue over red, so I think I preferred the blue one. I ended up picking up both of them, and I'm okay with those for a first time in the line. It's kind of like the Rhea Ripley effect, like I said. And I don't know if I have that real close. Let's see if I had it right here. I had my kids, I have 2 daughters, and they had a bunch of clothes for like Barbie type dolls or something, and they had this red leather jacket for one of them that fit that figure perfectly. Oh. And so I stole it from my kids' collection. I put that on one of them to make a little different. So you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
So for me, when it comes to my Aussie figures, if there's anything I could do to try and just give it a little bit of the, pizzazz, like Murphy with his cricket bat, for example, with the Toni Storm, I tried to do what I could to give her the glasses, give her the baseball hat, and she's got the AEW women's title on there as well, because, I'm hoping to see that happen, but it's not the best job there, but it certainly looks a lot better and looks more like Toni Storm than just, the generic figure on the shelf. So
yeah, that hat's a good idea. I think I might have some extra hats. I might steal that idea.
That is John Cena. I think it was that weird John Cena where he was dressed like old school, but he had like the disgusting comb over as well. So
okay, yeah.
In fact, I think for that, his necklace went to JTG, his baseball shirt went to Shad, and his baseball cap went to Toni Storm, which was
he got pieced out real quick.
He was not appreciated. So yeah, Toni Storm. It didn't really do a great deal for me, and I hope we get another Elite. I'm not going to hold my breath on that though. But like I say, they're going to get to the point where they're like, well, we can't just cancel every single figure. They're going to have to start releasing some of it.
What they're seemingly doing now is the Fiend's coming out in 92 and Adam Cole's coming out in 92. They're like, hey, guess what? We own it. We've signed off. The old days of canceling a figure, I think unless they really have to or can, they don't do it, because guess what? We'll make our money and we'll get money. That's what at the end of the day, it's a business. They're going to get it. So we're seeing the Fiend, we're seeing Adam Cole, and then Karrion Kross is coming in. Was it 93? I think it is. And WWE doesn't promote it.
Cross.
So they don't promote it. So that's their new thing, is when they do these Mattel live streams and announce stuff, it's like, hey, why is there only 5 guys in Elite 93? Well, Karrion Kross, they leave out, but then they say online, yeah, Karrion Kross is in that set. So he's going to be out here. And that'll be like late February, early March.
So what do you think Mattel does in terms of, like, for example, they've just released Toni Storm. They've just released like the figures. I mean, they've just, put out so many figures of people that are no longer with the company. Is it a naive thing to ask that when they have some of the parts that they need to make these figures, that they already have those produced? Like, is there a whole room full of Toni Storm head sculpts that they're sitting there like, well, what are we going to do with this now? Like,
and I can't remember what line Toni, was she going to be like 94, 95? There was one of those ones where they said, they gave a list of upcoming. And let's see, 92 is going to be hitting in the next week, probably 2 weeks in America, I guess. So I would assume like Elite 94 or so is probably already in production. I mean, those things are made, and I just think it depends where they started the production. If they hadn't started Toni Storm, I don't think it would come out. But if they've already started it, I don't think they're going to scrap any character.
I can't find that there was going to be an Elite Toni Storm. Are you perhaps thinking of Dakota Kai?
No, she's coming out. She's already hitting the stores in the Royal Rumble set. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, not to disrespect Figure God, but
but yeah, there was a leaked list. I want to say Elite 97, and it was like an internal list from one of the online toy stores that accidentally got listed out so they could order. They don't like those things getting out, obviously. Yeah. But it did get leaked. And I want to say it was like 96 or 97 or maybe 95, but somewhere in there. So I don't know. It just all depends where they're at in the process. Yeah. So we might get surprised. We might get surprised. I hope we do.
That's it. Well, speaking of figures coming out awkwardly after somebody gets released, Bronson Reed, Elite 90. So... Ooh. I love this figure. You can see I've got him back there. I've got him loose on the shelf as well. Again, he's the hometown boy. It's funny, they say he's from Black Forest, And I think that's because like that sounds kind of like
Yeah.
Black Forest. Now, Black Forest is like a shitty suburb that has a basketball stadium.
It's kind of like, the Stone Mountain, Georgia for Jake Roberts or something. It just sounds kind of like something.
Like people that live in Adelaide are like, Black Forest, like why are they what's so big about that? But this figure is amazing. I wish the face had a bit more intensity, maybe even like a yelling kind of face, so you could really do that pose with it. But the Bam Bam attire looks fantastic. This was an absolute win, in my opinion.
Huge. I love it. And I can't remember where it came in on my top 10 figures of 2021. I did a video on that, and it was in there. I don't know if it was like number 5 or 6. I mean, there's a lot of good figures Mattel came out with in 2021. That is one of the best, and definitely probably the newcomer first time in the line figure of the year. Just an epic figure. And he's actually wrestling a mile from my house next Sunday.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to go see him. I'm thinking about grabbing another one and maybe having him sign it.
100%. Yeah, that would be, I'd love to get these signed. And that's the thing, like, people in the States, like Australians are just perpetually jealous of the access that you have to this kind of thing. Like, we get WWE come out like once a year for a bunch of house shows. Yeah. That's it kind of thing. And often it's like, big names will get canceled, or they do an okay job of trying to replace people on the card. But like, it's such an occasion. But I've never been able to say, with the exception of Super Showdown, I've never been able to say, like, remember when this happened? I was there and I got to witness that. But before we touch on the last figure here, what's your favorite memory as far as being somewhere in person for a wrestling event? Was there anything very historic that you got to witness live?
I was at Saturday night's main event. I think I was 8 years old.
Man.
When Hogan suplexed the Big Boss Man off top of the cage.
Oh my God.
So I was there for that. That was, I didn't know how cool it was then. I was also at, it was Superstars Wrestling Challenge. They used to tape like 4 or 5 hour long shows with all the jobber squash matches and stuff. And this is before, they'd film them like a month in advance or stuff. And I love wrestling from an early age. And wrestling was on ESPN and other channels. So we got some of the other promotions. And all of a sudden, I didn't know this. There was no internet back then when I was, 10 years old. And the LOD came out for Superstars, and they had just debuted it a month earlier, but nobody knew. You didn't have the internet to know these things. So I'm just like losing my mind because I knew them from the NWA, and I love the Ultimate Warriors, my favorite of all time. So Road Warriors, LOD, my favorite tag team of all time. The Brothers in Paint. Little Kyle was eating that up big time. So, and then Texas Tornado was on that same show as well, and I didn't know he was coming. So those were huge moments. And then my daughter and I went to Survivor Series weekend in Chicago, which is about a 6 hour drive from my house. And I want to say it was like 2019. Ever since COVID hit, I can't keep track of time anymore. But I think it was 2019. It was where the War Games, where they had the NXT invasion of Raw and SmackDown. It was a big weekend. So I got to see SmackDown, got to see NXT TakeOver, got to see Raw, and then Survivor Series. So 4 shows, 4 days. And that War Games with NXT was amazing. That was the one where Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa went off the top of the cage to the table. My daughter and I were right there in the second row in front of that thing. We were on TV a ton. So that was a pretty good memory. My daughter was really into it. I mean, she was 6, 7 years old, so she was really into it. Not so much now at about 9 or 10, but so that was a pretty good memory.
Wow. Yeah. I'm very envious that you get to see NXT. I've been to one NXT house show when they toured over here. And it was like, this was like the Nakamura Samoa Joe era. Not the one that they aired. I think they aired one from Melbourne. I was just at a regular house show, but I was front row as well. And that was such an experience. But what was crazy about that is I was front row and my ticket was still half the price of what it was to get like a medium level seat for a WWE event.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I guess it was probably an experiment of like, oh, well, let's just see how successful this tour is. But
and like you said, I'm lucky. I mean, the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is like 2 hours from my house. They have a huge show every year where they have induction ceremony stuff. So I've been a big part of that the last 16 years. No, that's in Vegas. This is the Luthez Hall of Fame, Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. So it's in Waterloo, Iowa. But they do every July, they do a big super show and stuff. And Terry Funk's my all-time favorite wrestler. Well, Ultimate Warrior Terry Funk. That's 1-2 for me. And my buddy's the promoter, runs all that, and he knew how big of a Terry Funk fan. He's like, hey, I'm bringing Terry in, and you're going to be his handler for the weekend. So I got to hang out with Terry Funk all weekend. I helped him sell his merchandise, hung out with him in the hotels, carted him around. And then obviously, Mick Foley was there too for that, and they're good friends. So I remember one night, Mick, Terry, and I are sitting there eating pizza together, just the three of us. And I just remember, how surreal is this? That the three of us are just pinch me. It was so crazy. So stuff like that's been, really awesome too.
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, let's wrap this up with the final figure, and this one I haven't actually seen in person. I know you've seen it in person because you're about to do a review of it, but this is the Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair. What do they call them? Superstar Showdown.
Used to be battle packs. Now they went to Showdown.
I'm actually quite curious to get this purely for the stand that has the flight stands connected to it.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like my Marvel Legends will be benefiting from this quite a bit, but
you're exactly right. You're on the same page. I said, you know what? If this figure ends up sucking, at least have a flight stand, and I might be able to use these with something else. And these things, $20 for figures, that's not that bad of a deal with that flight stand. If it's a good flight stand, it's not a bad deal.
Flight stands are expensive.
Yeah, and I'm going to open that, I think, in about a week or so from now. So I'll do that on the channel. But I got my first opinions looking at it in the package. I don't know if you want that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't a fan of that attire for Rhea, even live at WrestleMania. I know it's like a Dragon Ball Z reference kind of thing, but it looked so out of character for her to be in such a bright white looking kind of thing, so that figure doesn't really do much for me. I think that's the Elite head sculpt though, by the looks of things.
Yep,
looks like it's the same. And Charlotte's fairly toyetic, I suppose. Like, it's always been
that Charlotte's better than I thought it would be. That Charlotte's, I think that's the winner of the 2-pack, at least on first impressions.
What's that Charlotte head scan? Is that from anything that you recognize?
I'm not sure if I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't have it right here, but I don't know if it's one of the Ultimate head sculpts.
That's what I was thinking, because it looks pretty detailed.
It is a pretty good one there, and you're exactly right about Rhea's. Just something about that outfit just doesn't fit the character, doesn't fit it, and I think that is one that would. I don't know if I'd still like it. I don't think I'd like it more than 84, but if they made it an Elite, maybe it would have been a little bit better. But I hope they don't, because I don't like that outfit very much. It just doesn't fit her.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's an interesting one. I'm sure we're going to see more Rhea Ripley figures in the future. We're going to get. I'd love to get a Rhea Ultimate Edition. Like, why? Don't even hesitate. The way that her trajectory seems to be going last year.
Yeah.
Let's just hurry up and get a Rhea Ultimate out now, please, just so we don't miss our chance.
Get it out.
Yeah, 100%. But with all that being said, that is the complete history of Aussie WWE figures by the looks of things. I think we've covered them all. And I just want to say thank you to Kyle for taking the time to run through all these with me. I really appreciate it. I think this is going to be a very informative video to put up on the channel. So thank you so much for joining me on this one, Kyle.
No, thanks. Anytime. It was fun. It was fun going down memory lane here.
So that was a lot of fun catching up with Kyle and talking about all the different figures from the WWE with our Aussie superstars on them. One thing I did forget to ask about at the end was, what are we going to see in the future? So for me personally, I'd love to see a Grayson Waller figure, especially if it comes with like soft goods like baseball shirt and stuff like that. I think Duke Hudson would be good. Realistically, Indy Hartwell's definitely going to be the next one to come through, but I would certainly enjoy a Persia Pirotta. And Zion Quinn, imagine him in figure form. I think he might even be a bit higher up the list than Duke and Grayson. Although Grayson's been having a big couple of weeks with his feud with AJ Styles, I must admit. So let me know in the comments, what do you want to see from WWE and Mattel in regards to the Aussies moving forward? Give me my Rhea Ripley Ultimate Edition, please. I'll be all over that. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go check out Kyle Peterson. I'll link his channel down in the comments as well. So make sure you give that channel some love, because legitimately, I love the channel. I reached out to him to do the talk. He was happy to do it, and it was a huge privilege to talk to Kyle. So I appreciate his time. I appreciate your time. And as always, everyone, be well, stay safe, look after your friends. See you in the next video. Peace.